Hi, it's Dr. Christy. Happy May to you. So I want to start this month just by sharing with you some of the ways that I'm personally working through my urges. My urges have been loud, and I've heard from many of you and many of us in our community that have been reaching out that equally people have just been feeling their urges and seen this increased desire to do behaviors. And I think it makes a lot of sense given that it's a time where there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of things changing. And again, for those of us who have highly sensitive nervous systems, our behaviors are one of the ways that we can self-soothe, that we can bring some regulation to our nervous system, gives us some sense of certainty in a time when a lot of things are uncertain. So I think it makes a lot of sense that these behaviors are up. And so one of the first things I want to remind you is there's nothing morally wrong with these behaviors. In fact, they're very effective at helping us to soothe and regulate our nervous systems. But for many of us, we want to have other ways to accomplish the same thing so that we don't have to deal with the impact of bald patches and open wounds and bleeding nails and cheeks and those types of things. And so I offer these from the place of here are some other ways that we can regulate our system, but I just want to remind you that there's really nothing wrong with your behaviors. There's nothing to feel ashamed about. There's nothing to feel embarrassed about. It's one of the ways that we figured out how to regulate our sensitive nervous systems. So one of my go-tos that I found really helpful these past couple months is feeding my senses. And so I'm out here in the garden. This is one of my favorite ways to be able to feed a lot of my senses at once. You can see behind me I've got roses, I've got my veggies, I've got my fruit trees. And so there's just this explosion of colors, of smells. I feel like those of us with body focused repetitive behaviors, we were born to be weeders. I mean, talk about the ultimate practice for being able to pull a weed gently so we get the root out. I mean, many of us have hours of practice of doing this exact behavior. And so gardening is one of my go-tos, one of the ways I feed my senses. But I also, other ways can look like cooking. Cooking is another way where you can combine colors and flavors and textures and smells. Even the sense of touch with all the different kind of the textures in your mouth and chewing. So cooking's another great go-to. I love to feed my senses through playing with my animals. So I love, wrestling with my dog or just running my fingers through her fur. That also gives my body a lot of sensory input, a lot of stimulation. I have other people I'm super jealous of, friends who know how to crochet and knit and make amazing art. Art is another expression and a way that we can feed our senses. So you just want to think about what are activities, what are things that we can spend the moments of our life, especially when urges are high. That's one of the things I think about is how can I feed my senses? And I find for myself that when I give myself that nourishment, that sensory stimulation, that nourishment, oftentimes my urges will start to quiet. And that makes life a whole lot easier. And so I just wanted to share that with you. I hope that's helpful. And I just want to let you know that all of us in the community are sending you lots of love and big hugs.